Welcome to Peter and Roofe's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. If you get a chance, hit the subscribe button, you can hit the bell and you'll get notifications of all our live content on the channel. We're delighted you could join us on this Monday after a hectic weekend of Scottish Premiership football. We'll look at all the games in the company of Richard Foster, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus here with me, back fighting fit and healthy. We've missed you. It's been a while.
It has, aye. I've been unfortunately struck down with old COVID, but I'm back in business today.
Yeah, absolutely. Delighted to see you. Anyway, lots to talk about, and thank you to you for joining us on YouTube. You can give us your view on the games. There's one match that we're going to talk about. Absolutely no surprise what's occupying everybody's mind. We've had lots of email messages as well, especially from downloading the app. John McLean says, Rangers, too many distractions, disputes with TV pundits, TV channels, arguments between board members and with ex-board members, disputes on whether to play a meaningless game in Australia, supporters' protests. They should have been concentrating on what was happening on the park. We only had to look at what happened across the city last season to realise what happens when everyone at the club, including fans, are not pulling in the same direction. And with that in mind, you know, that's something that I think everybody was looking at ahead of this game. There was a lot of disruption, but Rangers knew exactly what they had to do, Tam, which was quite simply go out there, win the game, and put themselves right back in the mix.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of realised that Rangers had to win the game. I think even a draw, Celtic would have been strong favourites, but the fact that Celtic have went there and won, I think Celtic have won the league. I don't think there's any chance of Celtic losing 3 games. I think they can afford to lose even 2 games, and Rangers would have to win them all. I don't see that happening. So it's been some turnaround since the winter break. You know, Rangers going to the winter break, 6 points clear. And look where we are now. You know, at the beginning of April, you're 6 points behind. Celtic have been pretty consistent, but Rangers have tossed away, valuable points. I think away to Ross County, home to Motherwell 2-0 up. We spoke about maybe the Old Firm games would determine the title. It hasn't really went down to that. It's the fact that Rangers have dropped so many points against other teams. So Celtic have been consistent, and I think Celtic yesterday sealed the league title. Yeah.
To the game itself and all the key points in it, we're going to talk about the misdemeanours, again, unruly behaviour. We'll talk about that in the next few minutes, but to the match itself, and what a start, Richard, for Rangers. I mean, the whole roof came off the place when Ramsey pops up with a goal.
Yeah, I mean, a fantastic start. Obviously, like Tam just spoke about there, the Rangers had to go and win the game, go and start the game really well, and they'd done that. And for a spell, even just before the goal, just after the goal, Celtic looked nervous, kicking the ball out the pitch, kind of miscontrolling it, poor passing. But then they scored. Celtic then scored with their first attack, and I felt after that Celtic took control of the game. Even in the second half where Rangers were pushing, I didn't think Celtic looked too troubled. They kept crossing the ball in, and Starfelt and Carter Vickers were exceptional. Kind of dominated the box, and I thought Rangers really struggled. Celtic kind of went there with a game plan, scored 2 goals at good times, right enough. Obviously just after conceding, and then right before half time. But then they just controlled the match, and Rangers really, I think a lot of their key players looked a bit lethargic and they struggled to break Celtic down.
Yeah, and overall, Alison, they go a goal up, Rangers. They could have had another. It could have been such a different game. That's fine lines in these kind of games, but Kent had a great chance at the back post.
Yeah, I think they came flying out the traps, much as the same way that Celtic did in that February game at Celtic Park. I think the tempo was high. You could sense they were up for it. You knew what was at stake in those opening minutes. I think they got the goal that reflected that early superiority, but I think when you're playing like that, it's important to capitalise too. I think the fact that Celtic came back into it so quickly just took the wind from their sails entirely.
Yeah. What about the contentious moments? Because we're going to talk about these. Tam, was it a penalty, first of all, for the handball from Carter Vickers?
No, not for me. I think that he's just blasted it out off his arm. I don't think he can move his arm. I don't think it's in a natural position. So for me, that wasn't a penalty. I think the one later on where he's pulled the jersey could have been a penalty kick for Rangers. So I think overall the refereed the game pretty well. I thought he got all the big decisions right. The only one contentious one was a pull, but I thought Willie Collum had an excellent game. He let the game flow as much as he could, and he didn't get his cards out too early. It must be the temptation in an Old Firm game to get the cards out early, and didn't do that. But No, for me, I think you can't blame the referee if you're a Rangers supporter for decisions. I think Celtic, Richard said, Celtic were the better side, deserved to win the game, and I think the referee had a good game as well.
Yeah, those contentious decisions are on both sides here, because there was a Maeda moment when he was in goal, took it past McGregor. There was looked like a clip on the heel. Was that a penalty? I thought the tug on the jersey was a penalty. I've seen them given before, and I thought it was a real tug if the referee had probably not been at the wrong side of it.
I'd agree with you, and I also felt that the McGregor-Maeda was a penalty. I think he just obstructed him getting a clean move then, a clean connection on the ball. I think he impeded him. That for me was a penalty too. Yeah.
And from a player's perspective, would you have been, I suppose you call for it in an Old Firm game anyway, but it looked like a clear tug from Cameron Carter, because the Maeda one?
The Maeda one, yeah, the tug's a penalty. I mean, if you take it in isolation, there's always grappling in the box, and what tends to happen is the foul gets given for the person who lets, he gets the foul if he lets go a fraction of a second before. So there's a bit of grappling, but he's got his shirt, it's a penalty. The Maeda one as well, I think if he goes down when the contact happens, I think he gets the penalty, but it's because he takes another step. I think that the referee obviously thinks that there's not enough for it to be a penalty, but yeah, I mean, Tam's right there. These decisions never decided the game. The fact that Rangers couldn't hold on to that early lead was a huge factor in deciding the game, I felt. Yeah, absolutely. Rangers put 43 crosses into the box, which again tells you everything you need to know about Celtic's defence these days. Yeah, listen, the two Celtic centre-backs were outstanding. Starfelt's took a lot of sticks since he's come into the club. Thought it was his best game in a Celtic jersey. And Carter Vickers for me was man of the match, along with Callum McGregor. I thought he was outstanding. He headed everything away, but I think Rangers missed Morelos badly. Yeah. I think that the fact that Roofe was there, Roofe's never going to threaten him behind. He's never going to run the channels. He's never going to turn. The two centre backs, the whole game was played in front of them. They didn't have to run behind and run towards their own goal. Morelos would have, span into the channels and try to get at them and mess them about. Don't think Roofe done that at all. So Morelos was a huge miss for Rangers. And I thought that the two centre-halves for Celtic had a cigar out, to be honest. Yeah, I thought they strolled the game. Yeah, and over and above that, I took a bit of flack for suggesting he was the best midfielder in the country in Callum McGregor. But once he got his act together, started finding the passes, I mean, it was his drive that got Celtic back into the game. I would agree with you on both fronts. I think he's had an excellent season. He's really grown into the captaincy role too. It was pretty big shoes to fill when Scott Brown left the club, and the state of the club too, if you think of the rebuilding and the chaos of last season about what he inherited. But yeah, I thought he was excellent, and I think actually he was probably pivotal to Celtic just finding their feet again. I thought that run that led to the leveller was crucial. I don't think you can underestimate just how vital it was in restoring Celtic's sense of balance, their equilibrium, given the fact that they had just found themselves in the back foot in those kind of chaotic opening minutes. Is the league over for you, Richard? Yeah, it's done now. I can't see Celtic losing 3 games. I can't see Rangers winning the rest of their games. I think that the win, they'll be very much taking out the Rangers' sails now. I think the only thing they've got to cling on to now is the Europa League, and hopefully they can go on and do well in that. And well, they need to win it now to get into the Champions League. But I think the league's done now. Okay, to the downside of Old Firm games, and more often than not, we have to talk about the conduct of some supporters. There's a couple of issues that I want to draw to your attention, but first and foremost, I don't know what kind of idiot and moron thinks about throwing what I would look at as broken glass onto the park, because I think most of us have that general opinion that it would need to have been a glass bottle thrown with force for it to shatter on grass. Unless it hits one of the post or the bar as it comes down, but yeah. I think that's the suggestion, is it hit the crossbar as it was coming down, which would probably be correct if you look at where Joe Hart was pointing out all the different shards of glass. Doesn't make it any more excusable, Ali, whether it hits the crossbar or not. I mean, it's just absolutely moronic to do it. The way the glass was positioned across the 6-yard area, never mind Joe Hart, a Rangers player could have got, that's how stupid it is. A Rangers player could have had his leg ripped open. Joe Hart could have done himself some serious damage diving on it. I mean, that's the lunacy of this. And to be fair, with every action, there has to be repercussions in it. I think a lot of us are looking on and waiting to see an arrest, a banning order.
and there could be a fine for the club.
Yeah, I would agree with all three. I thought it was despicable. I think it's cowardly. I think it's disgraceful conduct. I don't think you should be anywhere near a football stadium if you can't be trusted to behave. It's obviously been a moment of stupidity, gross stupidity, and hooliganism, just to throw a bottle that smashes in at the potential of injuring anyone that's on that pitch. I think you have to come down as harshly as possible, and I think it shouldn't be overly difficult to identify the culprit. I think when you know how the police can zone in specific areas of the ground, you can target the area where the bottle came from. I think it shouldn't be overly difficult to identify and then see who was sitting in the seat where the ticket was given, and you're really talking about a lifetime ban. And I think the club also has to be held accountable.
Yeah, the other thing about this, which I think is perfectly feasible, if that person is charged, I think it should be made known to everybody exactly what's been done. Now, I don't know if there's a some kind of protection for someone after they've gone to court on it, but I think it should be open to people to say, by the way, this is the type of person that's thrown the bottle that could have damaged someone, and damaged them in a way that is, I think Richard mentioned earlier, you could have had an artery little, if you put your leg across that, your arm, you're diving on it, you do not know what could have happened. So for me, there should be that triple whammy. Yes, you're identified and you're arrested, you're banned. If convicted, then people should know exactly the conduct, and you should then even go on and do a programme which basically tries to educate you on the error of your ways.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you've said there. I think that it was disgraceful. It's so dangerous, to throw a bottle onto a pitch. I mean,
and let's not forget the team physio had stitches in his head as well. He was hit with a bottle going off the tunnel.
Listen, the conduct of some certain Rangers fans is disgraceful, and it's to throw a bottle on the pitch is just. I just don't know what goes through someone's mind to do that. No matter how drunk you are or whatever, you'd never ever think, I'm going to throw a bottle onto the pitch. And the sad thing for me is that game's getting beamed out all over the world. It was a great game of football. It's your showpiece game in this country, and fans all over the world tune into it. Can you imagine people sitting in America or wherever in Europe and watching that game and seeing a broken bottle on the pitch? It's terrible for your game, for the face of our game in Scottish football, and they've got to find who it is. They've got to know who it is. Somebody's got to shop them, or they've got to go on the CCTV, because that person cannot be allowed back in the stadium ever again for me.
Or people, the guy or woman who threw the other bottle, who hit the physio. But I think that's where Rangers are culpable. How are they getting glass bottles into the stadium? Yes, it's still despicable when they're throwing, plastic cups, but they're not going to do anyone any damage. You're just going to get wet, and you know what I mean. But a glass bottle at a football match, it shouldn't happen. So at some point there's been a breakdown in the security or these people coming into the game. But you're right. I mean, who goes there and thinks, I'm going to throw a bottle at another person, or I'm going to throw a bottle on a football pitch? It's just, like you said, it's so moronic that they think, I'm going to throw this and it'll maybe hurt Joe Hart and not any of the other 21 players that are on the pitch. It's just, but then I suppose that shows you the mentality of people who do that. It's so moronic, it's untrue.
Yeah, and I have to say, Robert Rounds posted a message. He says, I hope the idiot who threw the bottle gets banned for life. He's not the kind of supporter I would like to sit beside at Ibrox. Luckily, all supporters beside me yesterday behaved well. Robert, you're one of many people that could go to a football game and watch it. Sometimes the game goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't know of any of my friends who have thought about going to a game, and I'm talking Rangers and Celtic fans here, who think, I'll go to a game and then I'll absolutely kick off and do something, that only a lunatic would do. I just don't get that.
I think, but it gets to the point where if you're there and you are with your mate and he looks like he's going to do that, you'd be like, sit down, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Yes, the person who done it is culpable, but the group of people they were with, or the other people they were with, at some point have got to go, why on earth are you wanting to throw that onto the pitch? You know what I mean? So it's not just about the individual himself, it's about the whole kind of, the area where that bottle came from. Why has nobody said it, and why has nobody tried to stop it? I know you're maybe thinking, if someone's stupid enough to want to throw a glass bottle on the pitch, if you're sitting beside them and you go speak to him, you never know what he's going to do to you, or what they're going to do to you. Sorry, I keep saying he. It could have been a woman, but yeah, it's a ridiculous situation that we shouldn't be talking about, because we should be talking about Celtic winning the game because they were the better side, but Celtic winning a good football match. It was played at a good tempo.
Yeah, absolutely. Over and above that, of course, listen, there was a game going on, and the result has huge implications at this moment in the title race. It's not over. Mathematically, it's not over. But I think at the end of the 95 minutes of this match, Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou, well happy with the character his side showed.
It's probably been the undervalued bit of this group of players, just the resilience they have. You know, after 6 games, we'd lost 3 and we're still putting the team together. The league had started, so. But not at any stage did I make excuses, allowances for them. They accepted the challenge ahead of them, and you know, we've got to this point because of you know what you saw today. Our football's been great, but there's a real abundance of character within the group.
Yeah, I mean, character in the group when you consider the start they had, Ali.
Yeah, I thought they showed a different kind of side to them than they did at that game at Celtic Park. I think where they were aggressive and showcased maybe all the attacking elements that you've seen from Ange Postecoglou's philosophy this season. I think what you saw yesterday was the flip side of that. It was just a case of being resolute, showing a particular kind of steel. And I thought it did say quite a lot about the character within the team, that just to steady yourself after the onslaught that there was in the opening minutes, in an environment where you know, like vocally Rangers have got 50,000 fans behind them, looking to exploit any weakness, to scent that weakness when Celtic felt ill at ease in the opening minutes. I think to come back from it and to go on and win the game, I think it does speak volumes. But part of that, I think, comes down to the fact that they've been so consistent. I think when you've got a run of 32 domestic games unbeaten behind you, I think it lends itself to that kind of confidence and quiet self-belief that when you're in a game like that, you know you have the ability to get yourself out of it.
Well, I looked at the stats, Tam, just on a similar weekend last season. Rangers had 33 games played at this time, 28 of them wins, 5 draws, no defeats. And they went on to win it, I think there's something like 25 points. The swing has been absolutely incredible. This season, Rangers, 32 games at this same point, 22 wins, 7 draws and 3 defeats, and they're 6 points behind Celtic. That just shows you the job that Ange Postecoglou has done to turn round some of their defeats and draws into victories and Rangers slip-ups.
No, it's been incredible, the turnaround. I don't think anybody could have foreseen that after the first 6 league games. I think Celtic lost 3 of them. Worst start of a league campaign in a long time. And I think the knives are out already for Postecoglou. You know, people were questioning his tactics, the players they'd signed, you know, but it was a brand new team. You know, it was a brand new team, brand new players and a new culture. And I think once they settled in, you've now seen a Celtic side that's absolutely motoring. I think they've dropped 2 points since the break. And I think Rangers have dropped 12. And I think that turnaround since the winter break, Rangers have absolutely blew it again. You know, they done it a couple of seasons ago when they came back from Dubai. This season's been the same. You know, from a 6-point lead going into Christmas, at the Christmas break, to 6 points behind. It's absolutely incredible. And you've got to give credit to Celtic because they have been consistent. You know, they've scored a lot of late goals to win games. But Rangers have dropped so many points against teams that they should be beating. You know, particularly Motherwell at home 2-0, Ross County away from home. You know, lose a goal in the last couple of seconds. So Celtic have been consistent. You've got to give credit to Postecoglou, but I think Rangers have helped them by dropping a lot of needless points.
Yeah, absolutely. And Giovanni van Bronckhorst, this is what he had to say at the end of the game. It was a game we had to win in the end. When we don't win it, it's a big disappointment for us. Losing against Celtic makes it more difficult for us. That is obvious. It's not over yet, but of course the loss makes it more difficult to be champions. If you play against your direct opponent for the race and you lose, you make it more difficult, but we need to keep on going. And keeping on going would suggest that Celtic would have to have a collapse, lose 3 games, and Rangers would have to win all of theirs, Alison.
Yeah, I think all eyes really are on how Rangers respond to it. I think it would be quite easy to fold. I thought the body language was interesting at full time yesterday. I thought a few of the players were grounded. You know, you saw them just lying in the grass and kind of head in your hands almost. I think that's obviously reflective of the magnitude of the game and how much was riding on it. But I think there's no other option now but for them to get on with it, to try and get a win again at the weekend, and they done it before. They done it last month. They came off the back of that defeat to Celtic Park and then had a big win over Hearts at Ibrox the following weekend. I think they've still got the game against Braga in the Europa League, and of course there's a semi-final still to be played in a fortnight's time at Hampden. So I think it's very important that they don't fold. I think you have to keep some conviction about you, and you have to ask the question of Celtic. We've seen it before. You know, you've seen it a couple of times where teams going into the final stages have slipped up, and I think from Celtic's point of view you wouldn't expect it on the evidence of the last 32 games. However, I'm sure they wouldn't want to offer any kind of encouragement be slipping up.
Yeah, Gordon, who sent us a message off the app, says, "Hi guys, I never miss a show on YouTube. As a Rangers fan, feeling a bit low, not just with the result, but watching glass being picked up from the Ibrox pitch. These so-called fans need called out and identified with action being taken against them from the courts and the club." And he says, "P.S. I support Rangers Football Club and any team playing Celtic. Keep up the good work." Listen, Gordon, that's we love the crack of all this. And again, there's no harm in that. That's the good banter side of the old firm as it goes. Listen to your show every morning from Santa Cruz County in California. This is a message that comes in. "I'm a Motherwell supporter, of course, went to now top primary and DL High. I watched the Old Firm game just when you thought it couldn't get any worse. We have a member of Celtic staff wounded and broken glass in the 6-yard box. It's an absolute disgrace. Be interesting to see what the SPFL and Celtic do now." Well-deserved win, I thought. And he also goes on to say, "Roofe should be considered a national treasure. His anecdotes are superb."
At least he's got one fan that likes his stories.
Yeah, well done, Tom. Yeah, absolutely. And there's been more reaction, as you would expect when an Old Firm game delivers all this madness. A Rangers spokesperson says, "We're assisting Police Scotland regarding both incidents and can confirm the stadium CCTV is being reviewed. We strongly condemn both incidents and the perpetrators will be banned." And First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, obviously looking at what was unfolding, has gone on to say this sort of behaviour is not acceptable, whether it happens at a football match or in the street. People throwing glass bottles is not acceptable. It's mindless, thuggish behaviour, and it has no place in any civilised society. But these are matters for the authorities, obviously for the football authorities, and potentially for the police and criminal justice authorities. Football should be something that people can take their kids to and have a happy, joyful occasion. Behaviour like that, whether it's an Old Firm match or any other football match, besmirches that, and it should absolutely be seen as unacceptable. I think everybody would agree with the First Minister's sentiments on that one. What happens at the end of it, I don't know. Just one little footnote I'm going to add to it, and I have to say, I'm not quite sure of what the angle was yesterday from someone, the PR, Rangers, whoever it is that decides. But the whole "this is the Old Firm" and the banner and the thing coming out of the front of the tunnel. I just think they're pandering to a set of loonies. It's as simple as that. Nobody who goes about their daily life gives two flying hoots about this whole argument over Old Firm. But it's almost as if they're protesting too much about what has gone before, and they're determined to just keep perpetually mentioning this. Nobody cares, and I think they're pandering to a minority.
They behave like kids in a playground. You know, it's the whole hoo-ha with the Sydney thing. You know, everybody that spoke about it thought, well, yep, it's a good idea. It generates money for the club. It gives some of those directors some money back that they've ploughed into the club. Because let's be honest, they've put in a lot of their own money to keep Rangers afloat. And hail mend them for maybe thinking, oh, this is a chance for us to get some money back. But a section of the fans, there was a big outcry about it. And then all them, like you say, all them banners, it's just, you look at it and you kind of cringe. You think, that's just a bit embarrassing. Like you say, none of the real fans really care. Just let's go on and play the game. But it's. I think someone spoke about it earlier, mentioned that there's always so much going on at Rangers. It's difficult for them to just concentrate what's on the pitch, and that's the main part of the team. And then they couldn't do that yesterday and they lost the game. And then all this other stuff just gets made far bigger than it would have been had they won the game. But yeah, I agree with you. It's ridiculous, all these banners.
Yeah, some of the banners that were held up at one point in the game as well, Tam. It just leaves a sick taste in your mouth, especially with what's going on in the court cases that again are dealing with abuse, which I think covers a number of clubs across Scottish football, but I just think they have to take a long hard look at themselves.
Yeah, again, it's the point scoring, and it's rife, particularly on social media. People point scoring about child abuse. It's just sickening, and anybody with a family or kids and all that. It's horrible to read that stuff. And as you said, it's not just one club. There's a lot of clubs involved, a lot of people involved, and to use that against your opposition players or your opposition teams, in that manner is just sickening. And it shouldn't be doing that, and it shouldn't be in banners at games. Hopefully it all gets sorted out and the victims get their justice, but you don't want to read that.
Back to the I mean, at what point do you think I'm going to make a banner about child abuse and use that as like you say, a point scoring exercise against my other team and other fans? It's incredible. You cannot even begin to imagine the mindset of these people.
No, absolutely not. Well said to everyone on this one. We do at times ask people to behave themselves, especially on our social media feed as well. We value people who love their club, can act responsibly, go to a game, enjoy it. If it doesn't go your way, fine, you go back home and, there's a bit of banter between normal Old Firm fans or at the end of it, the last thing you want to do is abuse people or harm them. It's as simple as that. Anyway, we've given you every point. I think we've covered everything, unless someone is going to tell me I've missed one moment of madness, Alison. I think I've covered everything I possibly can on this crazy game.
Yeah, I think you have. I think there are always talking points. I think it was a huge game from both teams' perspective. I think it was always going to be fairly definitive, particularly if Celtic were to win it and open up a 6-point gap. I think you'll know when it comes to the end of the season just how important it'll have been. But the only other one point I would have said was the Ryan Jack incident with Giakoumakis. I think Giakoumakis went through him and fouled him, and then there was a wee bit of after, so I think he kind of had his hand in his face holding him down. I think he was fortunate to maybe just get away without sanction for that one.
Yeah, okay, I'll write that down, Ali. I can't believe I've forgotten one. Ali's on it.
Ali's been choking to get out for 10 minutes. What about the Ryan Jack one?
That's the one as a player you kind of, you feel the tackle come in and you're not going to hurt Giakoumakis. He knows he's not going to hurt Giakoumakis, but it's just to try and wind him up a wee bit.
There speaks a man who's done it. Fantastic. We've been of experience here, Tammy.
Raking his studs down Achilles and all that, and standing in toes and all that.
You're hoping, if Giakoumakis reacts, he maybe gets a second yellow at some point in the game, down to 10 men. So it's a little bit, the kind of dark arts of the game. Like I say, there's no doubt that Ryan Jack didn't try and hurt him at all. He just tried to wind him up a little bit. Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, listen, you don't need to tell Tam about the dark arts. He tried to wind up Bobo and ended up getting stretchered off.
Correct. True story.
Yeah, let's not be worrying about that, Richard. Anyway, over and above that, the results. It's not only Rangers and Celtic that were playing, I'm sure you'll agree. Here's how it all panned out over the weekend. Dundee 2, Aberdeen 2. Hibs and Dundee United couldn't be separated with a 1-1 draw. Good win for Motherwell, an important win for Motherwell. And then Ross County and Hearts all square at 1 apiece. St Johnstone 1, Livingston 0, and that is a huge result with implications for the relegation spot that Dundee find themselves mired in there. St Johnstone, more breathing space, good win for them. And then a confirmation of the game we've just been talking about. Rangers 1, Celtic 2. You can give us your point of view on it all. If you want to, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. You'll get all the notifications of when we are live and also our unique video content as well. We hope you can join the football family of people who love their club and love talking about football in the right way. This is something that we obviously try and value daily from 4 o'clock when the programme comes on and we talk about football. So let's talk about some of those other matches and the implications elsewhere. Rangers and Celtic is one thing, but over and above that, we were looking at what was happening at the bottom end as well. and Dundee 2, Aberdeen 2, and it wasn't without its own controversy, because I get the feeling Jim Goodwin was far from happy with Charlie Adam. I think he thought there was a wee foul going on with Lewis Ferguson, and he thought that maybe Charlie Adam shouldn't have been there to take the free kick, Richard.
Well, I tend to agree with him. It's quite ironic. Jim Goodwin was used his arms quite often in games, as I remember. But no, I don't think Charlie means to hit him in the face, but he definitely swings his arm out to protect himself from the ball, and he catches him in the face. It's a foul. I think maybe Ferguson fouls him just before that. He pulls his shirt, but Charlie definitely catches him in the face. So if you don't give the foul on Charlie, then you definitely have to give the foul on Lewis Ferguson, because there's no ambiguity. He hits him in the face, it's a foul. But yeah, I think it was, Charlie kind of seemed to be, try to say that Lewis Ferguson went down a little bit easy after the game, but I don't see that myself. You got caught with a forearm in the face, it's going to hurt.
Well, no surprise Jim Goodwin's having that.
I don't like pointing the finger at individual players, but on this occasion I think Charlie Adams caught Lewis Ferguson in the face with a flailing arm, and John Beaton's got a great view of it. He has to see it. He sees what I can see from where I am. He's got a similar angle to me. A very simple decision, which should have been a free kick for us. 5 seconds later, Dundee get the foul, and unfortunately thereafter it ends up in the back of our net.
Yeah, that's an interesting one from Jim. If anything, if we're dealing with it in order, the immediate foul should have been Dundee's, because Richards, I think, rightly pointed out, I thought it was a massive tug on Charlie's jersey. I'm not condoning people just trying to shug him off, and he does hit him, but I think Richards nailed it, Alison.
Yeah, I think so. I think you can see the sense of grievance though that Jim Goodwin has, but yeah, I think the first foul is probably from Lewis Ferguson, when he's just tugging. He's got a kind of firm hold of his shirt. He's got a good fistful of his shirt. Yeah.
All in all, good game. Some absolutely cracking goals, and boy, Ramsey hit an absolute screamer.
Brilliant goal. I think that was his first goal for Aberdeen. Really promising young player. Don't think he's had the best of times recently. In the last couple of games, I've seen him against Hibs and he scored the own goal. Didn't have a great game, but obviously comes up with the goal. You think Aberdeen are going to nick it 2-1. But you've got to give credit to Dundee and to Charlie Adam, put 2 great balls in for the goals. I thought second goal, the goalkeeper, he stayed in his line, and then he came, he done neither. He made it easy for Mullen to header it in, and an empty goal. But decent point for Dundee, but they came off the pitch, and I've been down there before, and you look, it was St Johnstone won. It's totally deflating, and the gap's now 6 points, I think, at the bottom, so they're just getting further and further attached. And to be fair, now St Johnstone are looking up the way. They're looking, can we suck a St Mirren into it? Anybody in the bottom 6 could be sucked into it, so they're on a good run at the minute, St Johnstone. They'll be looking to try and perform a miracle and get out the bottom 2.
Well, there's a good point you made there.
Next, don't they?
I mean, Aberdeen. No, I mean, I know that Jim Goodwin's looking and saying, okay, got to get this next win and think about the top 6, but it's the flip side of this coin for them is, they needed. I thought they needed to win. I don't think 4 points is going to be enough to get them up into the top 6.
No, I think that, especially because they've been so inconsistent this season, I think, had they have, you look at St Johnstone, for example, they're on a bit of a run now, so they've got a bit of momentum, whereas Aberdeen don't really seem to have that. They're kind of, they're a bit all over the shop. Kind of Jim's going in there, he's steadied the ship somewhat, but they're still conceding poor goals. And I just think, it's only 6 points. I think the good thing for Aberdeen and St Mirren and the teams just above them is, Dundee play, St Mirren play Rangers, I think, on Sunday, and St Johnstone plays their away to Celtic. So if you're Aberdeen, you're thinking there's enough teams below us that will probably be okay, but you don't want to get into a losing run at the moment, with only 6 games to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree with you on that. And you mentioned St Johnstone, Alison. I don't think there's any debate about the elbow into Hendry's face, but he takes the penalty, and I always thought it was going to be close.
Yeah, I thought so too, and I think probably Livingston might feel as though they've done enough just to take a point or to take something, but I think from St Johnstone's perspective it's a huge 3 points. I think it just gives them that bit of breathing space now. I think, as Richard says, they've got a wee bit of wind at their backs now. It's a difficult weekend for them coming up to go to Celtic Park and try and take something, but I think they'll feel just a bit of security with the 6 points.
Yeah, what about your boys?
We're not going to mention the penalty kick first. I'm not going to mention the penalty kick first. Livingston should have had.
When Cleary went full Clark Kent in the box.
I was going to make
the referee, come on, that is one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in my life. I mean, how can he not see that? He dives and punches the ball.
Yeah.
The referees are dire. Anyway.
Well, the reason why I mentioned is because I think Roofe highlighted last week that we only have 3 referees of any great standing, and Hugh McDonald mentioned it too. Madden, Willie Callum, and the third one, John Beaton. So it's an opportunity missed. Livy will be furious at that, but St John's get the win. What about your boys? Are you guys top 6, or is that guaranteed, or is it still here?
No, it's not guaranteed. You've got to go to Hearts on Saturday and at least pick up a point. You know, I think a point could possibly be enough, you know, as Ricky said, but you need to go and win the game. You know, for me, Hearts will be desperate for Hibs to finish in the bottom 6 for the bragging rights, you know, so I'm going to there with Hibs TV, I'm into the Lions Den again, so...
what are you wearing so we can tell everybody?
I'll be at 9 o'clock, it's a 3 o'clock kick-off. But Hibs need to go and win. Listen, I've watched the game at home on Saturday, I watched the full game. Hibs, first half, weren't great. Again, just a lot of possession without any end product. Second half, I thought Hibs played really well. You know, they got the goal just before half time. Second half, they battered Dundee United. They created a few chances. Melkerson misses a sitter in the last couple of minutes to win the game. But again, it's that same old, you know, failing for Hibs. They can't put the ball in the back of the net. They're keeping the ball well. It's nice and pretty at times, but they've not got that end product and to go and win games. And they've got to bring it next week to Tynecastle because there's been 2-0 already this season. But Hibs need to go there and try and win the game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you must be happy with the goal. It was just a wee moment of class.
Great goal. He's a really good player. Him.
Yeah, Clark.
Yeah. He's obviously been missing from the start of the season. He played left wing, left side of midfield, which I thought was pretty strange, but he's got his goal for there, so you've got to give the manager a bit of credit. But I thought he had an excellent game before he retired towards the end. He's a big player for Hibs. Yeah, and a big player for Hearts in this derby, I think, is a guy who's been shining over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Barry Mackay, he got the crucial equaliser in a game that was always going to be tough because Ross County and Malky Mackay, I think you can look back on what they've achieved this season and think, we've been at it, we've been good, good signings, players that really have been playing for them. I think they've got a great manager up there. Yeah,
and I think they're another team who've been fairly consistent since the turn of the year. I think since he came back after the break, they've collected a significant amount of points, just steered themselves away from the bottom, and it says much about them that they've got the league's top goal scorer. You know, I think you can't underestimate the value that he's brought, but I think they also deserve a bit of credit for how they try and play. I think they try and attack, they try and take the game to teams, and I think that they get the reward at times for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last game, which I thought was an absolute cracker as well, was Motherwell 4, St Mirren 2. The old boy Stephen Robinson coming there, hopefully trying to put one in over in his old team, but it didn't quite materialise, despite the fact they got a good start, Tom.
Did Roofe get a goal? Great start for St Mirren, but they need to look over their shoulder a little bit, I think, St Mirren. I think Robinson's went in there, and again, it's difficult when a manager goes in. It's not his players, it's not his team. You know, he came in at an awkward time in the season when Goodwin left. He's got to just try and get to the end of the season. You know, I don't think they'll finish in the top 6. I think they should be okay, but he's got to just try and survive to now at the end of the season, and in the summer he's got to clear the decks there and get some players in. Interestingly
enough, I think he's been questioning some of the players, and maybe they're looking at life after St Mirren.
I genuinely believe we need results which state the obvious very quickly. We've got players that are good enough in there, but unfortunately players' heads are turned. Players are maybe elsewhere already. It's up to me to try and find a way to get results to make sure we're set for next season. And then I can put my own stamp on it and bring players in that I need to upgrade the squad.
Well, there you are. There's a baseball bat to the head. Some players are thinking about next season elsewhere, and he is already talking about bringing in his own players.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, and if I go on to be a coach and a manager and do an interview with you guys and I do this, then you can remind me of what I've said here. But I think certain things should be said in the dressing room and not outwardly to the press. Now, maybe he's trying to get a reaction, but if you are those players and you know that you're leaving, you know, you're going to down tools now. You're going to go, right, okay, you think that of me already. I'm not going to risk myself for you in the last 6 games getting injured and, you know, jeopardise a potential move because, you know, I've got my future to look out for. Whereas I think you can say that in the dressing room to the players, because then they'll maybe accept it and they might go, right, you're maybe a bit right, I've maybe come off it a little bit. But when you go out publicly and try and embarrass these players, I know he's not named them, but those players will know who he means. And I just think that there are ways to do things, and you've gone in there at a club who were doing okay, struggled to score goals, and within a couple of weeks you're questioning the players, their mentality, you've been on a poor run of games. I just think the timing's a bit dangerous, because like I say, those players who are maybe thinking, and let's be honest, the players who are going to move on will be their better players. They might go, well, you know what, see how you got on without us for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I tell you who else had done that a few years ago. Terry Butcher done it at Hibs.
Yeah.
Terry Butcher done it at Hibs, they got relegated. He came in and he said, these players are not going to be here next season, they're not wanting them, and they came out publicly and said it, and they never won a game, I think, till the end of the season, and Hamilton beat them in the playoffs. So he needs to be careful until they've got enough points that they're mathematically safe, because the same could happen to St Mirren.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Motherwell needed the win desperately as well, just to start thinking about up the way rather than behind them. And I think Graham Alexander was quick to point out the belief they showed to get back into the game and eventually win it.
We come back from a goal down, took the lead, and they got an equaliser, but we just carried on going, and there was full of belief and confidence and courage today, so it was brilliant.
Yeah, well done to Motherwell. They get the all-important 3 points in that one. So overall, over the course of the 2 days, the SPFL table in the Premiership has changed. At the top and the bottom, there are decisions which you may well have decided right now suggest to you that the league is over. There's a long way to go. Mathematically, I think a lot of people have to realise there might be the odd twist and turn, but if the top is, as everybody on this programme has mentioned, is Celtic's to lose, then what would be the bottom end of it, Ali? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think it'll be very difficult now for Dundee to get out the bit. I really do. I think that 6 point gap is huge.
Goal difference as well, Alison.
As well as a goal difference. I just think the real danger when you're in a predicament like that is when you get cast adrift, which is what's happened over the last few weeks.
Yeah, has he had enough time in your mind, Richard? Can he get maybe an extra little spark out of them off the back of that 2-2 draw with Aberdeen, that they're going to be playing all the clubs around them?
I don't think so. I don't see them winning 3 more games than St Johnstone. St Johnstone are hitting form at the right time. Like I said, it's a bit unfortunate for them. They're away to Celtic Park in the next game, but those games take care of themselves. You don't worry too much about those, and I just think the other teams will have enough against Dundee that Dundee won't claw the points back. I honestly believe that St Johnstone might catch St Mirren again, and the lucky thing for St Mirren is as well the fact that St Johnstone play Celtic, because I can't see them picking anything up there. But I think St Johnstone are a good run. Callum Hendry scoring goals, good form. He's a confident lad, and he's kind of rejuvenated their season, second half of the season. So I think they could possibly catch St Mirren, but I don't see Dundee getting out of it.
Sam, how do you see it?
No, I think Dundee are gone. I think they're down. I agree with Richard. I think that St Johnstone have now got the bit between their teeth. They're not conceding a lot of goals. And they've got a striker in form, Callum Henry, who's a goal scorer, and they are vital at this stage of the season, because if you can get somebody that can nick a goal for you and you've got that solid structure again, then you can win games 1-0 they done at the weekend. So I think St Johnstone could possibly get themselves out of the bottom 2.
Yeah, okay, you can give us your view on that as well. We've got some really good competitions coming up on the programme later this week and next week as well. Chance for you to win some good prizes, and we'll also keep you up to date on some brilliant events we've got coming up too, as well as more one-to-ones for you to enjoy. Pat Nevin's on there, Gordon Strachan, James McPake and Jamie Murphy as well, talking about his career. So there's more one-to-ones on the way, and we'll also deliver you more dream teams to keep you going all the way through to the end of the season. And of course you'll get the best opinion here from all our pundits on the games that unfold. There's still a couple of Old Firm derbies to look forward to. Not only the one in the league at home at Celtic Park, but of course that Scottish Cup semi-final between Rangers and Celtic. And of course we've got to talk about Hearts and Hibs too. So there's lots to look forward to, and hopefully you can stay with us for that. The most important thing to talk about now is apparently natural order has been restored. Where have we seen that banner? I've seen that banner before.
Craig Levein and they get the bullet.
Absolutely.
Watch yourself, Ali.
Look at that. Alison McConnell hits the front again at the crucial end of the season. 275. Roofe on 272. I'm in 263. And Tam, you're on 252. And then it's Hugh McDonald on 246. And Tam is on 245. Dare I say it? It's too close to call, Tam.
It's Cowan had another good weekend. Every time I think I'm away for danger, they get about 17 points and I had 2. He's dragged me back in. I just can't shake him off. So it looks as if it's going to be between the three of us, me and Hugh and Tam. I think the top 3 will fight the title, but I'll be happy. I'll be happy
so
to finish second.
Relegation. So can I get in next year if one of you get relegated?
Well, can I tell you, knowing the clobber you're wearing and every time he comes in here, yes, you definitely can get back into
We'll get a good meal after it.
Yeah, absolutely. Although we're all looking forward to Ali getting a good meal out of Tam Cowan, but
he's only 7 points ahead behind me.
Suddenly, from a potential Michelin star restaurant, we could be heading back to the Blue Lagoon again.
Time a buffet, King. 10-11, all you can eat.
How would you feel, Ali, about hitting the top?
I warned you a few weeks ago when Roofe was getting a bit sure of himself. I warned you it was early days, that there was still ample time yet. So, yeah.
Yeah, 17 points. You can get it. I mean, I think on the season, I'm the one person who hit 21 points in one weekend. It can be done.
Is that maximum 21?
Well, no, because you can get 35. If 6:30, you can get 30.
I hope you don't do the table.
I know you can get. I know. Usually when I do, I'm top.
All the wages.
I think you can. I think you can get 30. So, but that would be one of those days when you would be raging that you didn't put the whole line on.
You get about £1 million back for a pound.
That's your Super 6. But yeah, Richard, you're in next season. It's a stonewall certainty. Tam, I think, will now avoid. Cowan will be avoiding the 1-1 draws. I think he's going to look at this and see there's a chance here.
Every time I have a stinker, the first guy I look at is Tam Cowan and he goes, tell me he's not had a good weekend. And then it was a shocker. I got 2 points, an absolute disgrace of a weekend, and I looked and Tam had about 17. I was sick.
That's what happened to Roofe and I. I had a 0 and then I had a couple of 2s.
Yeah. Listen,
easy done.
That's the joy of it all. And the good news is, moves are afoot for us to involve our viewers in the predictor as well, Tam, which I think is going to be fantastic.
That'd be brilliant. I think the loser's got to take us out for something to eat.
Well, I'm dying to actually contact the boy who loses or the girl who loses and say, by the way, you lose, you're putting us all out for a meal. No, I think there's going to be some really good prizes. On a weekly basis for a winner, which I think is good.
Has to come out with.
Yeah, well, that's a very
Roofe can vet that.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Listen, as ever, usually before we go, there's a statement. But this one here is from the SPFL. It says, the Scottish Professional Football League can today confirm that there will be a vote on the 19th of April on whether to introduce VAR to the Cinch Premiership. The SPFL has this afternoon circulated a resolution to all 42 member clubs who will be asked to vote on its introduction at the SPFL General Meeting on that date. The resolution requires 75% of Cinch Premiership clubs, 75% of clubs in the Cinch Championship, and 75% of clubs in Cinch Leagues 1 and 2 combined to vote in favour. If the resolution is passed, the target implementation date for VAR will be following conclusion of the Qatar World Cup 2022, which takes place between the 21st of November and the 18th of December this year. So, what do you make of that, Alison?
I think it's been inevitable. I think you know that it's been on the horizon. I have to say, I think it's a good thing. I would welcome it. I think anything that helps to improve the correct calls being made in games is a right way to go. I don't think it's a perfect entity. I think there are still mistakes or there are still disagreements to be had in terms of interpretation. but I think it's a step in the right direction.
I think, Tam, it's got to be a stonewall certainty that they vote for it. We need that into our game for credibility and even for a bit of sanity to help the referees.
Yeah, I think the referees need help. You know, we spoke about there's some decisions where you can't believe that they've not actually seen, but there's difficult ones in the split second that, you know, referees can get wrong. You do feel sorry for them. You know, offsides or maybe a handball. So it all happens very, very quickly in football. You know, you don't get the option of a second replay if you're a referee. So I hope they do bring it in, but I hope they do. You know, the offsides, the handballs. I think they've got to tweak those. The offsides, if you're a pixel offside and all that stuff, I don't like that at all. Same with the handball rule. So they've got to clear that up and get that better. But the VAR for the big decisions, I think, is correct.
Yeah, I think you're the only one, and I don't know if you agree with me, Ali, but I think you're the only one on a football show ever to have said a pixel if you're a pixel offside. I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody has ever used that word to describe. It's a brilliant way to look at it if you're a pixel offside. Well done. But again, I mean, there's nothing worse. He gets infuriated by it, so do I. You see it, there's an elbow there, there's a toe, and suddenly they've drawn a line across it, and then it's bumped, the goal's disallowed.
The way they've done it is literally, and this sounds ridiculous, but it's literally, I've got a size 10 feet, you've got a size 7, so I'm offside. That's how tight margins. Now, that's no advantage for me having bigger feet, you know what I mean? It's just those margins are ridiculous. But I don't see the point in all the clubs in Scotland voting on it, because it'll just be in the top league, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's a good point about it. I mean,
and so then you go, well, what are they actually voting for?
Yeah, I'd like to see, I don't know if you agree with this, I'd like to see, because we want to see it as an entertainment, we want to see goals, I think the line should be drawn if there's clear light between the body and the defender. You know, a bit of, you know, light where you could draw the line and say his body is in an offside position. That used to be the way, and I think it would be far easier to draw the line on that. I don't know if you agree with me.
Because it's almost, it should be for me as if he's gaining, if he or she are gaining an advantage by being ahead of the defender. You know, so if you are a yard ahead of him, then you've got a distinct advantage. But if you are a toenail ahead of him or a pixel, then you're clearly getting no advantage from that. So it can't be ruled out for offside, and that's the bits that spoil the game, because those really, really close ones are the ones that take all the time. You know, and you get 7 checks from VAR, then they say to the referee, no, we can't make a decision, you need to come and decide yourself. And then, the game gets halted, and that kind of stops it. It'll, soon become like the NFL if it keeps going the way it's going.
Yeah.
I think when it's fairly ambiguous, when it's as tight as that, I think...
If you need to draw a line, it's onside.
I think you give the benefit to the attacker.
Yeah. If you need to draw a line, he's onside.
Yeah, no,
I agree with that as a defender as well. You know what I mean? I just think it's ridiculous otherwise.
I like Robert Round's look at this. He says, it's okay, Richard, Tam has a bigger head. Maybe he would be offside regularly.
Before he'd be offside.
Who knows on that one, but nevertheless, it's always good. Couple of things I want to get out to you guys to get your thoughts on. First and foremost, Neil Doncaster, the SPFL Chief Executive, says, I'd like to warmly congratulate everyone at Wraith Rovers on winning this year's SPFL Trust Trophy final. It was great to have fans back in the stadium for the final for the first time since 2019, and Wraith Rovers were more than worthy winners. I would also like to send my commiserations to Queen of the South, who showed real consistency to reach the final. The SPFL Trust Trophy continues to be a real success, and we look forward to its return next season. It's amazing how everything can change, and the PR and the everything surrounding Wraith Rovers can change over the course of a month. They've won the cup, and the David Goodwillie thing seems to be fading into the background now.
Until you mentioned it.
Oh, I just thought I'd mention it. It's my job to mention in a cynical sense what's happened over the last month.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to talk about their achievements, and as football players you want to win things, regardless of what competition it is you're in, and fair play to them, they've kind of stuck it out, as well as, a decent kind of campaign in the league. Fighting ourselves for the probably the last playoff spot. So they've done well to bounce back from all that negativity, because we've seen at different clubs, that negativity off the pitch can sometimes seep onto the pitch and make it difficult for the players. But thankfully for them, for this tournament, they've managed to bounce back, and hopefully that's where it ends, and they'll lose the rest of the games from now to the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. 'Cause I knew there'd be something for you guys. I mean, listen, the Championship. He is part of a side that have just blown it. I mean, Roofe might be on holiday at the moment, Ali, but he'll be watching. He'll be wondering if Thistle can. We think they're actually struggling to get to the 4th position now. It's going to be harum scarum for you, this mob.
Yeah, I think there's been a kind of change in atmosphere just over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think at one point Thistle looked like the form team almost in the Championship, out with Kilmarnock and Arbroath, but it really looked to be pressing there, and then I think just recent results have suggested a falling away.
Big game for you, huge at the weekend.
Yeah, it's huge as well because we play Friday night. You kind of get the jump in the team, and I think obviously we've now got a game in hand. Raith Rovers have got a game in hand because of the cup game, so they missed the game. I think they play this midweek against Dunfermline, who quite fortunately we were able to give Dunfermline a lot of confidence a couple of weeks ago, so that was good going into this game. But Dunfermline they played really well against us, and that wasn't one of the games we deserved to win. But hopefully they can take the points off Raith.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight now. I think Kilmarnock will win the league, but I think Arbroath and Inverness are set for 2nd and 3rd, and as Richard said, it's going to be a battle between Raith Rovers and Partick Thistle, and just from Partick Thistle looking as if they could go and win the league, now in a race for 4th place, and Raith Rovers will take a lot of confidence from that result yesterday.
Yeah,
I think squad size is what's won Kilmarnock the title, I believe.
Okay, what about down south? What's happening there in that title race? Well, here's the results from the weekend, which is quite simply interesting stuff. And it was Liverpool who managed to see off Watford comfortably. There was no slip-ups, I think, from Manchester City against Burnley. So at the top end of the English Premier League, it's certainly nip and tuck. If there's going to be a slip-up, it has to be Man City, I think, within the box seat here, Tam, because they will have home advantage against Liverpool for that game. So I think the bookies are still just veering towards Pep Guardiola's team.
Yeah, I think Liverpool need to win the game probably. They're capable of going to Man City and winning the game, no doubt about it for me, but it sets up for a cracker. Listen, we all thought Man City would win the league early in the season, but Liverpool went on a great run. But that'll be great. Next Sunday I think will be good. We've got the Super Sunday, I think, and then the Masters as well on the Sunday night. So next Sunday I'll be sitting in front of the telly with a few beers. Yeah,
I was just about to say to you, if you hadn't thought about how your weekend's planned, Tam has just highlighted everything that you need.
Looking more likely that Tiger's back as well.
Yeah, hopefully Tiger's there.
So the golf's there. Ali, you now have your whole Sunday set out for you, of course. It's been an incredible weekend of football. Just out of curiosity, the bottom end of the English Premier League, it's so crucial to try and avoid it. I'm looking at it in disbelief, wondering, are Everton finally going to leave the English Premiership?
We were talking about this last night, actually, just where they've been and where they are now in such a sharp decline for them. I think one of the real, they just carry so much prestige and so much history, but I think their position now looks very precarious.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's how it looks in England. My thanks to our team here today on a day when we were discussing the Rangers-Celtic match that finished at Ibrox in Celtic's favour by 2-1. I think the general consensus from everyone here is the league title is over. Celtic will win it unless there is a collapse. What do you think about it? We're going to talk about that. Undoubtedly, it will rage on until maybe Wednesday, Thursday, until someone eventually looks towards the weekend's games. Richard's going to be with us for the entire week. Can you handle that, Tam? I mean, are you
just well? The fourth is I like to see his clobber. He comes in with his stuff's cracking in it.
Well, the good thing,
I'm dressed out today.
His stuff's magnificent.
No, I mean, I know you.
I just wear a free gear and all that and stuff that we Rob gives me for being inspired, but I can't compete with him.
No, the big man's looking good. It's certainly a change from Roofe, who when he gets a winning shirt, he wears it for 5 days.
A smelly tramp. I hope he's listening for Turkey, I know.
He won't. That
No,
involves
he's been sitting absolutely blistered up the
that
moon.
involves having to work out how to use your computer. Anyway, brilliant stuff. Richard will be with us, Tam also with us, and of course Hugh McDonald's going to come on a little later on this week. But to you, don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell as well. You'll get all the notifications of what we're about and some of the great content that we've got for you to cast your eye over. And over and above that, if you download the PLZ Soccer app, you'll get all the breaking football news as well. Some great competitions coming up too, but for the moment, on a day when everybody's been reflecting on a fantastic Old Firm game between Rangers and Celtic, there were some downsides to it. Of course, hopefully over the next few days, the police and the authorities will take action on the lunatics that keep tarnishing our beautiful game. But apart from that, join us tomorrow if you can, 4 o'clock, PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. From Tam, from Richard and from Alison McConnell and myself, Peter Martin. Thanks for watching.